Emmy, Myself and I began really just as an idea to share my experiences as an Emmy sufferer. I was diagnosed when I was 12, and my Emmy was really debilitating. Certainly until I was in my early 20s, I was housebound, I had to be educated from home. It had a massive impact upon my life. And once I had reached my early to mid 20s, I realised that there was an opportunity through being involved with filmmaking freelance to tell my and share my story with as many people as possible to raise awareness of ME. So I looked at doing that a few different ways. I thought about a documentary at first, but my passion is screenwriting, and the things that are most important to me are films and TV shows, and that's what helped me get through ME or sort of cope with it. It was an escapism for me. When I was 13, 14, I had shows that would help me just get through the next day. There was something to look forward to. They had characters that spoke to me. So really, I looked at the documentary idea for a hot minute, and then I just went straight away back into wanting to tell it as a scripted, as a drama. So I thought about telling the story as my story, using myself as the main character and sort of just telling a fictionalized version of me. But very quickly I decided that I wanted to tell an original character, so that I could put some of my experiences onto this character, and she could be similar to me but not identical to me. Her family situation was similar but not identical. So that was kind of the starting point, was really realising that I wanted to tell a fictional but somewhat true depiction of the Emmy experience. I wanted it to be as honest as possible and to contain my experiences and experiences of others, but at the same time still be a character. So that was what the starting point. And after that I realised I wanted to add an element. So prior to Emmy, Myself and I had made another drama which was about a teenage boy, and he could imagine this Hollywood star talking to him and giving high school dating advice and all that kind of stuff. And it was great, but I really realised very quickly that having an imaginary character could be used as a tool to tell really deeply personal stories, that character was essentially the internal thoughts and voice of the character, the stuff that maybe they were afraid to say to other people or afraid to really say out loud. So once I realised that I wanted that to be an element of this film, as well as it was a nod really to when I was growing up. Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a hugely important show to me. It really spoke to me, and that character, I had a Buffy poster on my wall, and whilst I did not imagine it talking and speaking to me, you know, when I was in my room or in my bed and I was really sick, it might have been like the only face I saw for 3 or 4 hours. So you would imagine, like, wouldn't it be cool if that poster came to life and we went on this whole adventure? And you like, it was like a split second thought, but I you know, had that thought a few times, and that was a way of capturing an element of again real life, but kind of in a fantastical sort of turned up to 100 kind of way. So once I decided upon it being a scripted show, then obviously it was about writing the script and surrounding yourself with a casting crew that you feel will really not just capture the character or capture, you know, the way that you want it to be shot, but also really passionately believe in what that I was feeling, you know, people that would get what I wanted to do with it. So it was just about finding the people that really connected with the story, and I did that in many different ways, and I found people in a few different ways.
One of the first things I did working with tape is I went to a screening of Scarlet, which is kind of a prequel to Emmy, Myself and I, and so that's kind of when I first met Tom, and then through working with tape we kind of became like working together every day and got to know each other, and I kind of gave some guidance on the first script and helped with the first episode.
First became involved with Emmy, Myself and I when I was on a project with another organisation, and Tom was one of the like leaders type things on it. And then he asked me if I wanted to do it.
I was going through a really sort of bad time with my health. I was really unwell. I was sort of craving for someone to just tell me what was going on, really. I can't remember if I had been diagnosed or if I just knew that I'd had it at that time and I was waiting for a diagnosis, but it was quite a long time ago now. But I just remember being in a really horrible state of mind. No one around me knew what was going on. I mean, I was basically bedbound. I had had a really awful time at school. I'd had no support at school, and I was just wanting to hear like about someone who was going through the same sort of thing. And so I put my pride aside and I went onto a sort of ME forum, Facebook forum, and I put on there a really open and it was a really long one if I can remember, sort of just explaining a bit about me and wanting to hear from someone about their struggles at school and how they cope with it and how they managed to do their exams. I was reaching out for sort of someone to help with that aspect because that was what I was really struggling with the school aspect. I was a really keen learner and I wanted to do great things and I still wanted to achieve, and no one was helping me do that, so I wanted some support in that sense. I didn't know if I was going to get anything. I was just sort of reaching, and I remember getting loads of replies and like really heartfelt ones and saying that they're so sorry that I was so young, and it went on. And then I remember getting a comment underneath from you, and you said that you had gone through the same thing when you was younger, and that you'd had same sort of struggles with school. And yeah, it was almost like I just knew in that moment that you were the person that I was going to get this help from, this support from in that sense. You seemed really open and willing to talk, and you said message me if you've got any questions, and I did. I just came straight in. I was just like these questions. I can't remember what questions it was now, and I remember you answering really, really detailed, and you sort of opening my eyes to the possibilities of doing things from home. And you mentioned how you've got your film company and those various aspects of creativity, and you sort of engaged my mind to want to be able to do things from home, like writing poetry. And that's when we sort of built this this relationship in a way where I was able to come home, like come away, step back from the mess that was my head at the moment and really delve into a poem, and then come to you and show you this, and then we sort of worked together, we collaborated, and you brought me on, and it was amazing. I felt like I was achieving something even from my home, even from miles and miles and miles away from you. I felt like I had someone who really got me, who really understood and was really trying to push me and help me when I'd got so little support at school. So yeah, that was how I came into the project, and that's why it's so heartfelt and why it really means so much to me, because it brought me out of a rut. It really did. It brought me out of feeling like there was no hope.
The process for each person on episode 1, I guess, was different. So everyone's probably got their unique challenge that they had, whether that was acting or maybe being behind the camera for the first time. The challenging thing for me was obviously writing them. We're sharing a lot of deep personal thoughts to me, but also I wanted it to be structurally interesting, and also, when it comes to writing a script, you have to introduce so many characters and have to introduce so many elements, as well as I also wanted to sprinkle in and make it really realistic with the depiction of Emmy. So obviously we weren't able to, within the first episode, touch upon every aspect of Emmy, and that was never really intention. It's an episodic thing, so there'll be new elements added all the time. So the challenge was choosing which elements to add in, as well as setting up a character that hopefully people were going to really like and really care about, even if they didn't have Emmy. Basically my idea was that people fell in love with the character and then followed her on her Emmy journey, and maybe that gave them more understanding and perhaps more empathy for people with Emmy. So it was about making a character that people could really just relate to regardless. and then obviously tying in the poster and stuff like that, and deciding which elements weren't as big a focus for the first episode, so the parents weren't in the first episode as much as obviously as other characters, because in 10 minutes I had to introduce Rachel as a character, introduce the talking poster, I had to set up, for people who might not know what Emmy is, I had to set up the various symptoms, as well as touch on like the struggle getting diagnosed and all the different elements like that. So that was the real challenge, was juggling them all. And then obviously as a director was finding a way to shoot something that's about being trapped in four walls in an interesting way, because obviously if I just shot it as close-ups or wides and really just standard shots, then I think that it could look visually not very interesting. So a lot of it was about using height and different, putting the camera above her, having her talk to the camera, really kind of using it in many different ways instead of just going for your default shot. So that was a challenge for me.
Well, I seem to remember that first green screen piece that we did with Nicole. I got involved with the boom and the sound side of things, which I hadn't done much with before. And you start to get sensitive to using the headphones properly and making sure you hold the microphone in the right position. So you hold it as if you're putting somebody in the beam of a torch to create that sound space, which will give you the best audio. And it was nice for me to think, this is a new skill for me. And of course, then I went to do some sound recording with you later on when we were at the house scenes, which is good. And it's always a relief when you hear that the recording is clean, and you haven't got sort of interference coming in. And there's always things that worry you from that point of view, which has nothing to do with the visuals really. But sound is so crucial, and people are actually more fussy about good audio rather than you can have a bit of a shaky camera, but if you've got cracking audio, it's a nightmare really.
Some challenges playing Rachel were like, I didn't really know how to resist it, like how to make it look believable and stuff, so quite challenging.
I knew everyone apart from Nicole prior to prior to the first shooting, but I really got to know them more and I got to learn more and see the chemistry behind cameras, and it was crazy. It was so much fun. I never felt like I was working when I was doing that. I always felt like I was just in a giant hangout with a bunch of friends, but doing work in the process, obviously.
I guess another challenge obviously was we are a low budget project, so we were very fortunate that people donated for us to be able to make the first episode, and I just can't thank those people enough. However, our budget was still very, very small, so there was some challenges in terms of we had maybe 4 days to shoot the whole episode. We were dealing with people who were acting for the first time, so obviously that slows down the process, but at the same time we're working quicker than a normal production would. So there's a lot of challenges like that, but I'm really chuffed with how everyone overcame them, and those challenges just kind of, I think it helped in the end. I think having restrictions sometimes can lead to making you have to tell a story in a different way, and I think there's elements that were added in post because of the challenges that happened, such as montages and things like that, and they ended up being some of my favourite parts, and that was just because of the challenges that we had. So yeah, that's sort of some more challenges, but at the same time some really interesting moments from a filmmaker of having to overcome.
Some of the challenging things within the first episode for filming are things that are very common in low budget short films, which is you film in real locations which are not normally particularly easy to film in, because rooms end up being really small, and even if you're filming a very close-up shot of someone on a bed, you still need to get camera, lights, crew, the sound crew in there, and that gets really tight really easily. And then trying not to cast shadows because everyone's squeezed into one room. So trying to work out how to still get the shot that Tom wanted, but and kind of like limit the crew in that for that one scene, and also trying not to put off the actors, because when you've got a new actor sat on a bed trying to give a really poignant speech, and there's 6 people in a crowded room with a bright light, and then saying action, can be quite daunting. So I guess the challenges are always budget, time restraints, and filming in real locations can be quite challenging.
So after episode 1 was created, it obviously went out, and we were very fortunate. We had a very positive reaction from charities and from people diagnosed with ME, and we were able to amount and get nearly 5,000 views on that first episode and get a little bit of press attention. So that all went really well. So obviously the idea was then roll into making a second episode, which I did not want to do via donations. The way I see it is that Emmy is underfunded and does not get enough people interested in it anyway. So generally speaking, the people that donate to Emmy charities are people who have Emmy, who themselves are perhaps not able to work or because of their illness. So I don't want to be taking money off them when, really, if they have any money to donate, then obviously I want it to go to the charities and hopefully find more research and maybe one day a cure or whatever. So I didn't want to take money from the audience that needed it, or needed our show, or felt like our show spoke to them. So I wanted to go down the funded route. So we quickly put together, I say quickly, it was about a year and a half worth of work putting in a funding bid, which unfortunately we were not successful in. We looked at some other avenues for funding, and again we were sort of faced with the message of we're not interested in funding a show about Emmy, essentially. Obviously I'm sort of shortening their response, but in essence that's kind of the response we got. So previously it was the first episode was made with Tape Community Music and Film, which is an arts charity here in North Wales. However, they're a charity, so they needed funding to be able to put manpower on this project. So sort of about October this year, I had changed career paths, and so no longer was working with Tape. So the opportunity to discuss with them the idea of maybe the only way that this was going to be made is if I went off and made it solo, which obviously they were really supportive, allowing me to do. And then we had a few donations that had come in just organically with the first episode. So we were able to get Tape involved in a small way with a day's worth of shooting and bringing some young people to get involved with learning aspects of film. So we were able to still have them involved, but in essence it became a new production company, it became something that I had to go out and buy the best equipment that I could afford, get everyone to sign on knowing that there was no money, there was zero budget essentially for costumes, for every prop, everything had to be bought and purchased by myself, which obviously can be hard, but I think it also, the challenge of firstly being a low budget and now a zero budget production, bizarrely brought us closer together again as a crew. We knew that we were doing it just because we passionately believed that talking about Emmy was important and telling this story was important. So I think that, again, challenges, we had to move quicker again. I think we filmed in essence over 15 hours. So once more we had to move quicker once again, and that is challenging, moving so quickly, and then again the sound people and the camera people and the actors had their own set of challenges that also came with working on a low budget production, and I'm sure that they are different than mine, but I'm pleased to say that they overcame them.
The biggest challenges that I faced on set were probably the amount of space we had to deal with. So operating camera for the first time, it was quite difficult because we had limited space. We were filming in quite a small bedroom for most of the time, and getting that amount of kit all into the same space with all the different crew members there as well was difficult. It was a bit of a technical challenge getting the camera set up the way we wanted it to, and or the way we wanted it to in planning, but also trying to find a variety of different shots to use which still looked interesting. So it was difficult doing that for the first time, and but at the same time it was fun. It was a good challenge really, and I enjoyed dealing with a lack of space. And a different challenge I'd say would be another challenge would be from a more personal point of view would be with my experiences with social anxiety and being on set. So with this experience on set, I would say I was more integrated than I have been in the past, which was good in a lot of ways because it allowed me to kind of take on more of a role in making the film, and that's really fun. But at the same time, it kind of feels like more of responsibility in a way, and being involved with that many people at first before I'd started was kind of a bit I wouldn't say I was concerned about it, but I was kind of like wondering how it would go, kind of getting worried from that point of view. So it was beforehand I was kind of worried about what kind of challenges that could throw up, and in the end I'm really happy to say that it worked out very well. And straight away from the start of the first day recording, I felt very happy that I felt like I belonged there, which is great. So it's been great kind of like getting an experience of working on set and just knowing that it can be that good, if that makes sense. So knowing that I can feel really comfortable working with loads of other people at once, and yeah, it was great.
Some of the challenges, one of them's working in a cramped environment, such as the bedroom shot. There's not really enough room in there for 2 people, let alone 4. A big light, a camera, tripod, and then all the crew that sort of comes with that. Another challenge I would say was using equipment that was on the budget end of the scale and stretching its legs to make it work. But we managed.
We've been so fortunate with the whole way of this project. There's been massive challenges. Obviously, not getting funding for an episode 2 was a real low moment for me. I'm trying to figure out what the next move was. But there have been so many highlights throughout it. Being able to create something is just a joy. Being able to work with this group of people and see each person go on their own journey with what they've discovered about themselves, learning acting, how they've grown as performers, how they've grown as crew, and also like I always go back to the premiere. We were very fortunate to have a red carpet premiere for the first episode, and being able to get everyone down in the same room, be able to get family there and watch that first episode was such a special moment for me, and for everyone, I hope.
A highlight from the whole thing was probably the premiere for episode 1. Because like just seeing everybody watching it for the first time, everyone's reactions. That's what.
Well, of course, the big premiere was really great, and to meet Malia, who'd we'd spoken to on Skype, a few months beforehand, and she really described her condition so well. You could picture the fact that all these issues that she'd had with ME. You felt as if you were relating to real experience, and to meet her afterwards was great, and the fact that she'd really been impressed with what we'd done, because we're only trying to put our ideas across as interestingly as possible, in the way the narrative went, rather than just a sort of normal documentary.
I wrote the poem and I didn't think it was good enough to go into this, and I thought that I'd probably have to do a couple more and keep on sending them. But I remember you saying that you can definitely work with this poem, and you put it into the script. And I remember you sending me the script, and you called me a script advisor. And I remember reading the script, and I felt like this overwhelming sense of resemblance between me and this girl who was going to be, well, the script basically. I found like myself sort of putting myself in the script. It was about me. I felt it was really similar, and it was gut-wrenchingly similar. And when I got to the point of coming to the premiere to actually watch this thing that had been filmed, it'd been put together, and I wasn't sure what I was expecting. I knew that it was going to be really real, and I knew that I was going to get emotional, but I didn't feel the full sort of emotions until I sat down with everyone who'd made it, with you, obviously, the first time I'd met you, after speaking to you for so long, and really watching this amazing episode. And it brought me to just it made me a wreck. I was an absolute wreck, because it was so accurate. And so the process for me, it has been like this incredible journey. At the beginning I didn't think it was going to ever happen. I thought, this is just a little bit of, this man's trying to bring me out of the rut. Like he's seen that I'm a vulnerable and like upset or emotional girl, and he's trying to help me. And I never thought that it'd get to the point of, actually, I'm a part of this. My poem is in a show that I've written, that I've been a part of, that it was mental. It was just mental for me. It was mind-boggling. It was something that I just never expecting would ever happen, coming from just a few messages that we sent back and forth right at the beginning. It was just mental that it all happened. And I mean, I missed my prom because I had a really awful time at school, and I missed my prom. I didn't want to go to my prom, and that was just, I just thought, you don't deserve me there. And I came to this premiere, and I was sort of thinking, oh my God, like what if it's I don't know, bad, and what if the poem sounds like bad in it, and I was worried about it. And then I came, and it was like, no, I'm so glad that I came to this rather than go to the prom, because I felt such a huge sense of achievement by being there and bringing myself out. And I remember I wore the most outrageous outfit because I'd missed my prom, and I was going to wear the thing that I was going to wear to my prom. And I remember even being there and being really like extra and completely different to everyone else. I felt comfortable. I felt that this was my happy place, and I really enjoyed the whole process.
I guess personal highlight, I really liked how the poster turned out. I thought that in the first episode, there was lots of different elements, and I'm not particularly a special effects person. I've just kind of learned bits here and there, and I'm more of a traditional editor. But I think it kind of really feels like it is there in the world, but also has a real tone to it. So that on a personal level, that's what I was happy that I'd done, that I was happy about. As a project, I think just seeing Chloe evolve in the role, and just see somebody that I'd worked with on multiple projects, and is just such a person that can be very vulnerable, but also extremely enthusiastic and excited to do something. So being able to see her have something that, even though it's Tom's, it is hers, and that she feels this connection to it, and getting all, and then that kind of rolling out to people she's never met, saying, is this someone with ME? Is this a documentary? Which is bizarre because there's a talking poster, but people believing in her character enough that they think that she's not an actor, that she's just giving real experiences. That's, for an actor, that's the best you can get, isn't it? So I think that as a total project, that's the thing that I think is the best thing about it.
I think it's been really amazing seeing what started as me wanting to spread awareness and tell people my story and help people who are going through something that I was going through. I think it's been amazing seeing the cast and crew really learn about Emmy, and then it's become not just me banging the drum and talking about Emmy, it's become something that everyone is equally as passionate about, and seeing how everyone feels about what they hope we achieve with or what we can achieve, or the awareness that we can spread. I think it's been incredible seeing how they feel about it and hearing how they feel about it, and hearing that it's not just me wanting to spread awareness, but it's something that everyone feels as passionately about me, even though they've got no experience of suffering ME. They've learned so much, and now they feel like it's a cause that they are so passionate about, which is fantastic.
I'm hoping that the creation of Emily, myself, and I will help bring light to the topic of Emily. I'm hoping that it will help people who have no knowledge of Emily, who have maybe just found out about it. I'm hoping it will bring them a basic understanding and maybe the inquisitiveness to conduct more research.
I am hoping that this particular, that these episodes achieves awareness more than anything. I really hope that it makes its way around schools. That is the main thing that I want to come from this, or like even to be sent round as a training sort of documentary in ME, because there is not enough information about it, and it's really sort of, it is very common but it's unknown. It's common but people just don't know enough about it to sort of support the people going through school, and that is the hardest part. I think definitely for me was going through school. College is a little bit different, it's tailored completely different. You have much more one-on-one support, you know, there's just more funding available, I suppose, with colleges with what they can do. But definitely there needs to be an understanding that school children, they are malleable, but they are like, they're not robots. I mean, like, we are prone to illnesses, we are prone to mental health illnesses, and with ME it's invisible. I mean, like, you can't see it. You can see it in respect that I'll be like a zombie. Sometimes I don't even know what you're saying to me because my brain is so foggy, I'm so tired, I can't focus. I mean, that was every day for me. I was just a walking zombie back then. And so there needs to be an understanding. I mean, I was like basically shunned and not welcome back into school because I'd had so much time off. There was no understanding, and I really hope that this, when it's finished, or these episodes now that are coming through, just sort of exacerbate the need for understanding, and the need for actually seeing someone in that state and knowing the background and how it affects them at home and things like that. And a lot of people, they put on a cover as well, they put on a mask to try and stop people from thinking that they're like ill, or, you know. And especially at school, I did for a long time, and then when I actually asked for help, no one believed me. Then so I just think that I really hope that teachers and schools and colleges as well take from this an opportunity to learn and to help school children not to feel the same way that I did. And I expect you had the same circumstances. I mean, I know lots of people now with ME, because I've branched out, who all had very similar, very unsettled and sad times at school when they missed the best parts of their lives. I mean, I know now loads of people who hated school, like, had no problems. They miss it so much, but I could never miss school because they ruined that for me. It completely did. And so yeah, that is what I hope happens with this.
Well, I think it's twofold what I want it to achieve. Obviously, the main thing is that it brings awareness to the condition, because I think, knowing Tom, I learned a lot about ME. The first film, there was things that, even though I knew Tom, we'd had conversations about ME, and obviously I'd read the script, there was still new stuff that came out in every part of it, from the filming of it to the editing of it. And then even within the second one, even though my role has been more actor than creative input, I I still learn new things about ME that I didn't know. So I guess the hope is that it does that. It informs people so that people have a better understanding of it. Because even there are people who obviously don't give a monkeys, and hopefully they'll start to care more. But there's also the people that are really compassionate but still don't understand it as a condition. So hopefully it does that. And the second thing is that I hope that it helps all the people that were involved in it, from behind the camera, in front of the camera, to continue their dreams, like what they want to do. If they want to be, get more acting work that they can use us. If they want to make, Tom's a very talented writer who has done lots of different things, from comic books to shorts and things like that. So hopefully it'll give him some standing in the world so that he can do things outside of this really important show about a condition where he can, he's got a lot of passions outside of ME, and I hope that it progresses to allow him to do those things.